guys, it's Joe with VMP, and this is Alex with VMP. We're here with Tuning Tuesday. Answer any questions or any type of text questions that you have regarding Mustangs or F-150s or some general Ford questions.
Yep, and remember, if you like the show and you want the content to keep coming, make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we can keep the show rolling. That's how we do it. As long as the people like it, we can keep on rolling. So, what happened this week? Any news on Mustang this week? Anything come out that people, is noteworthy talking about?
I think Ford attempted to break the internet yesterday.
Yeah, and they did it late too, like at 7 or something like that, where...
Well, that's where a lot of peak traffic on social media is, so it makes sense for them to do it around then. But
right. But I guess the timing, releasing the Mach 1 stuff, so obviously, for those that you don't know, and if you're living under a rock and you're not a Ford fan at all, the Bullet was released, sorry, not the Mach 1, the Bullet was released finally with numbers, specs, pricing, and then the next day, they announced the GT500. It's a CGI rendering similar to what they did with the Ford GT, but they announced that it is really, everyone was speculating as to what it was going to be called, whether it was going to be called the Cobra, whatever, but they brought the name right back to Shelby GT500.
Yep, they did it.
So the rumors are this. It's going to be a 2650. This is what all the rumors and speculation. 2650 TVS on a 5.2 cross-plane, meaning not a flat plane crank. Now, is it still a Voodoo engine at that point, or is it a Coyote-based engine?
I think it's closer to like a 5.2 XS than it is than a Voodoo engine.
Now the 5.2 XS has GT350 heads, correct?
Yep.
And it has a slightly more aggressive cam.
Yep.
But it's basically... Now, is it still...
Oops.
Carrie,
sorry.
Mute your volume, Carrie.
Okay, it's gone.
So basically, it's going to end up being like the Crate Illuminator XS that can, according to the Ford engineer we talked about at SEMA 2 years ago, he's like, oh, these things will take 1,000 all day. So I wonder if they're going to keep the same internals.
It'd be nice if they did.
Yeah,
did something they did with Terminator and put nice H-beam steel rods in them.
Yeah.
Ooh, it'd be nice.
And it'd be great because if that's the case, we can just
turn it all the way up.
Start making overdrive, start making upper pulley, start doing the same old thing we did back in 07 to 09 GT500s, and then in the last 13 and 14 variant, which was hugely successful, made a ton of power. But it's rumored to have 700 horsepower. Now,
700 plus.
Plus, where do you think it'll be in terms of rear wheel? Like, let's talk rear wheel, because I know crank is crank, whatever, but what do you think it'll end up, when it comes to rear wheel horsepower, what the GT500 will end up doing?
My guess is 660 plus at the wheel stock.
Okay, and what did the 1314 GT500 put out stock?
Like 600 to 620, depending on how good the fuel quality was stock.
That's a sizable bump. Now, we don't know whether they're going to offer the 10R80, is it, right? Yeah. 10R80 yet. Rumors are it's a TR6070, the 7-speed Tremec, like you have on the C7 Z06. And if that's the case, it's a great transmission. The C7 Z06 does have downshift rev matching, which I hope Ford puts into the GT500, because if it's anything like the GT350, handling that good with the brakes, and it has another 300 horse, oh my God.
It's going to be awesome.
Oh my God. So it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. So, you have any questions coming in, Carrie?
William says they are trying the Mach 1 SUV.
They're trying to Mach 1 an SUV. I have no idea what that means.
That's what he says.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and there was rumors about the Mach 1 being all electric. Look, I don't know anything about that. I just know that what we saw yesterday, the Mach 1 being, I'm sorry,
he retracted it.
The Bullet being released, which is, it's a very nice high-end, premium Mustang. I think it has what, different cold air or
possibly a different intake manifold.
People are saying it has a GT350 intake manifold, which kind of puzzles me.
It makes sense to me, but it puzzles me from the aspect of some people are saying that the new 18 manifold is better than GT350, but that would kind of serve to go against that train of thought.
Right.
That, all right, well, if it's better, then why does the Bullet have a different one?
Exactly. So once we get testing done and we get everything in hand, we'll be able to kind of get you some information. Obviously, other tuners will probably get to it, but when we get our hands on it, that's when we can talk about it. Until then, there's not really much to talk about except rumors, basically. GT500, Bullet being released in the last couple of days, which is great. The GT500 will have the most horsepower out of the pony cars in the last, I don't know, more than the Hellcat, more than not the Demon. The Demon is completely different.
Demon's irrelevant to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like Cobra Jet, except it has a VIN.
It has a VIN, a Cobra Jet with a VIN.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen one run 9.8 yet in the wild.
I don't think you will unless it's a day like today.
Cold.
At like the beginning of the day in Florida or at a track like Maple Grove, and I don't think it's ever going to happen in the real world.
Now, I'm sure there are Shelby GT350 owners, GT500 owners that are mad that the Shelby GT500 was being re-released. Why are you mad? So, look, a lot of you guys thought the 1314 was going to be the last one. Sorry, and if you thought that, that's crazy. Is it going to bring the value of your car down? Hell yeah.
Probably.
Absolutely, because now you don't have the last of anything. But I think the Shelby GT350 on its own is a great road race car, making 520 horse.
Yeah.
That is a whole different thing. But the GT500 price point, what do you think price point's going to be on that thing? A 700 horsepower car that handles like a...
Probably 72.
Yeah, they can't hit that. They can't hit you with that $100,000 or $80,000.
I really don't think they're going to, because if you just look at, like, what's the GT350 run you without all these dealer markups and stuff?
High 40s, low 50s, like 52,
Yeah.
51.
So I feel like you add a blower into the equation, all the R&D work that they did, the durability testing, and the changes that they made.
Right.
I feel like you're probably looking at least 15 over what a GT350 is, at minimum.
If you had the dough, do you buy a GT500? Joe good enough.
In the spotlight right now,
Right.
would you do it?
Would you do it? I know you got 7 cars and only 3 bays.
Yeah.
Why you got 7 cars and only 3 spots?
We got 12 car garage. If I had to sell all my cars and get only one, I would probably do a GT500.
Yeah.
But it's really one of those things that's to be seen.
Yeah, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to handle like. We have no idea.
But to me, Ford hasn't messed anything up yet in terms of Mustang.
In the
They
last,
haven't made a car that I don't like.
like since Coyote.
Yeah, since Coyote.
Right,
They
I haven't
made
seen
a car.
anything that I say, no, I wouldn't buy that. Like, I'd buy the Boss 302.
Yeah.
I'd buy the Shelby GT350. I bought a 15.
Yep.
A Roush car you'd buy, even though it's technically not Ford. But
Yep.
a Shelby GT350 and a 500. Absolutely. I've
All of
driven
them.
all, like, minus the 500. They're all great.
Yep.
They haven't messed up since 11, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they're on a good roll. So I can't imagine them going, now let's just mess everything up and put out a
Yeah.
clunker.
Oh, look, it looks terrible.
Oh, what'd you do with the nose? Ugh.
Or even better, oh, it's retarded. the Family Guy thing.
Exactly. But basically, what we like about Ford's lineage on everything is the power. They're staying right in line with the power. They're staying right in line with the other manufacturers. Chevy guys, I'm sure, are hating life right now because, you know, they had the ZL1, 1XXL, whatever the hell they call their car. And I'm kidding. It's a great car. But I'm happy that Ford is right in there with them, not just taking the passive route of saying, let them kill the horsepower wars. We're just going to bow out.
I'm kind of sad it took 5 years, though.
Yeah, but what if it's badass, though?
Guys, we have some questions coming in.
That's okay. We're rolling here. Though.
We're having a good
You are
time.
rolling.
We're having a good
I
old time.
know.
Speculation Nation over here.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give you some questions,
Go for
though,
it.
and then you can have another good time.
She's like, stop talking, guys.
William wants to know, is a remote email tune as good as a dyno tune?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Okay.
when done by the right person.
Right. You got to understand, when we send out a remote tune, it has been vetted and tested to death at a dyno. So then when we send you a tune, that tune is vetted, even on the softer side, but once we tweak it and play around, she's good to go. So yeah, we don't send stuff out that is, you know, not vetted on the dyno first and tested on our own vehicles.
Yep.
Jimmy says he's got a 2015 GT Auto with Circle D converter. He's got a Whipple 2.9 Stage 2, off-road long tubes, stock suspension with 17 drag radial. Want to know, is a 9-second ET practical with this setup?
We just talked about this.
We did.
Well, there are cars out there with an 85mm pulley and a TVS going 1020s. So I can't imagine a blower that has more displacement and more boost running at least a 9-second run on a Stage 2.
It should, especially if it's on E85.
Exactly.
If it doesn't, then it may as well throw it away.
Then might as well just take a hard left and let the wall do the thing for you. No, if I don't know if on the Whipple tune itself you'll be able to accomplish that. I think there's a lot of torque reduction, torque management stuff in play to protect axles, transmission, everything, because it's not necessarily a warranty thing. But
I think if you put some good octane in it, the Whipple tune might do it.
But the Whipple tune at Stage 2, I don't think you can account for more boost. Unless you have a real cold day, the thing launches like a bear and it traps 135 plus.
Yeah, there's some MS-109 or C16 in it and see what it does.
Yeah, it's possible, yes. Basically, that's the answer we're getting at.
Start cutting weight out.
We're being tongue-in-cheek with a
Yeah. 'Cause- Yeah.
couple of other things, but it's definitely possible, yes.
Yeah.
Um, Jimmy says
Anything is possible in the real world.
Exactly.
Anything is possible. He says it would be your tune on 93 or Torco.
Yeah, I don't see why not. As long as we get everything squared away and you get back and forth with us with data on the supercharged application, power is not hard to chase. The drivability, you know, that's probably the hardest thing to chase on.
And that was, did he say that was S550?
S550 2.95
well,
feet.
That's something that we don't support from a tuning standpoint at the moment.
We don't tune
Going
that
back to that
application.
comment of we don't send out tunes for stuff we haven't done on the dyno.
Exactly. Now, obviously, you don't. This is my train of thought on that, right? We're VMP, so we tune our blower and similar. You don't call ProCharger and say, "Give me a tune for Vortex," you know. So that's kind of how I look at it. We don't support that application remotely because we haven't vetted one on the dyno. And do we have an interest in doing it? Maybe.
Someone wants us to do it.
Bring it on.
Bring the car down, and we'll get it done. But
we're not
actively seeking it.
Yeah, we're not actively seeking it out. We run a great number on our 2.3 TVS, and that's what we concentrated on, and it's so good. And once 2650 comes out, it's all open after that because it seems to be a real good efficient blower.
EM2K.
Ford chose it.
Ford did chose it over the in the GT500.
Yeah.
Did you look at that?
Oh, that's weird.
EM2K20 says when using a 69 millimeter pulley on a 17 Roush blower, stock lower, what PSI is achieved, and does the closed air box need to be opened at the boost level?
Did he say what year it was?
69 S550.
It's
69 millimeter with
20. It's a 2017 Roush blower.
Okay, so yeah, he would have to get rid of the Roush air box because the tube is going to collapse with a 69.
Right.
Go to either use like a PMOS or a JLT cold air intake on that setup. Boost level with a aftermarket cold air is going to be up around 14, 15 psi. Really depends on your exhaust setup, your elevation, and all that stuff, and how the cams are moved around. But expect in the range of 14 to 16 psi.
Melvin says, hi there from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Hi, Melvin.
Looking to upgrade to a VMP supercharger for a 12 GT 6R80. Street and occasional strip. What do you gurus recommend? Thanks and great info. Keep it coming.
Today we did an install on a Stage 2 kit on a 2013 or 14 Mustang automatic 6R80. It's a Stage 2 kit, basically, because the only thing he doesn't have is a booster. And he already brought his own throttle body, and he did upgrade the heat exchanger. That car should be a high 10-second car, no problem. Now, Puerto Rico shares the same weather that we do, basically. It's kind of on the muggier side in the summer. But on the street and on the strip, that car should be pretty easily in the 10s with pump gas, as long as the pump gas is pretty sweet.
Good pump, good 93.
Yeah, and that's a Stage 2, and trust me, you really won't need much. When you really want to party, when you really want to, run a better number, converter, better fuel system, suspension, just like everything else. But a Stage 2 kit for your vehicle you'll be more than happy for a long time on pump gas. For sure.
Exactly.
Jason says, I recently broke the piston rings on #1 cylinder on my 2016 F-150 with a Roush Stage 2 supercharger.
Okay.
Do you guys think I'm trying to read it, what he wrote here.
Yeah.
You can do a more reliable tune than Roush with better HP numbers?
Roush's tune's pretty reliable.
Pretty damn reliable.
Usually the only problem you'll have with a setup like that is because how aggressive the pulley is on the Phase 2 setup, is if you have any sort of octane issues, it'll be exacerbated by the amount of boost that setup's running.
Right.
Which will usually result in ringland failures.
Right. Run good gas all the time. Like truck guys, I don't know truck guys. I know Mustang guys. And Mustang guys will run 91, will run 89, and they'll tell you it's 91, 93, but the data log tells you different.
Yeah, it tells you otherwise.
Truck guys, I don't know, but if you have a supercharger in your vehicle, ever, run 93. Don't mess around with 91 because 91 varies from station to station, just like 93 does. Mid-grade to me is when you have a supercharged vehicle that's going to run you, what, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000.
Yeah, and we know it's not just Roush that has issues with it. I mean, there's
Whipple Cal is the same way.
There's Whipple on F-150, so maybe maybe the common variable here isn't the blower or the manufacturer of the blower or the tune.
Is the car it's on.
It might be the pistons. They might be weaker in F-150.
Yeah, don't think that F-150 15 and up is exactly the same as Mustang. It is not. And don't let anyone tell you it is. It's better than 1114,
Yeah.
but it is no race truck. It is a truck.
And it's lower compression, so you can get away with a little bit more boost without quite bringing the cylinder pressure up. But it's probably the 4th time I've heard of a stock tune having an issue, whether that be a Whipple truck or Roush truck or otherwise. And all on what should be a very safe setup.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, these are all like the higher boost versions. Like I haven't heard of a Phase 1 having an issue.
No,
it's like
it's the phase 2 guys.
Yep.
For sure. That answers that.
Yep. Ta-da.
Ta-da! John wants to know, why does the Whipple make such low torque with similar VMP setups making more torque?
Joe could probably answer that more technically. I'm just going to tell you that a simple term, the rotor design is more efficient.
Yeah, for low-end torque.
For low-end torque.
The TVS moves a lot of air at even low blower speeds, and does so very efficiently. It does so in a very good place on the efficiency island for I think it's isentropic efficiency.
Yep.
But the TVS, that's kind of the thing that makes it nice, is all the low-end torque production based on how efficient it is at lower blower speeds and even at pretty aggressive blower speeds. But I'd say try not to compare supercharger to supercharger, different car, different day, different dyno type stuff, because you're going to get different dyno results from different fuel, different cars, different dynos, different areas. If you truly wanted to, hey, what does this one make versus what this one makes, get them both at the exact same boost pressure on the same exact engine combo, on the same engine dyno, on the same day with the same controls, then see, or you can just look at the supercharger test data of like either the isentropic efficiency islands or the blower drive required torque to turn the supercharger at a specified RPM, and just you can look at all that stuff and just kind of make reasonable, what am I trying to say here?
Conclusions as to
which one's going to be more efficient at moving air in certain regions.
But if you're on Facebook, Instagram, and everywhere else, you're going to get thrown a whole bunch of BS your way about what's better because they get a better price out of it. I don't know, Miss Unprofessional over there, what's going on? Mute everything, Miss Unprofessional.
I thought it was. It was.
Basically on Facebook and anywhere you go, whatever they're peddling is what is better. We have the isentropic chart, and that is undeniable. That is something that's like some third party tested it. Here it is. Look it up. If you guys want to Google that, get off of Facebook, because all you're going to get is opinion on Facebook.
That's an SAE test designed for manufacturers of superchargers to adhere by when rating their superchargers' efficiency at different airflows and rating what they're capable of. So it's like, how can a standardized test where you have to deal with the controls involved with that test, how can that be skewed if it's done properly?
Right.
Like no one with a reasonable sense of pride is going to skew a standardized test.
Reasonable sense of pride.
Yeah.
That's the key word there. You're going to get, if you search the data, not on social media, you'll get the truth. You'll get it. And if you get opinions from people that don't know anything about data except ET, then you're talking to the wrong people when it comes to data. Gary?
There's more to ET than what blower's on it.
No, blower, ET, get out of here.
Has nothing to do with the car it's bolted onto or the setup of the suspension or the tires.
No, it's the blower.
Yeah, we won't get into that though.
Carlos says, my 16 GT has a VMP supercharger, has more horsepower of a GT 500 18. What is the better performance of the two?
Depends on what you want, because I mean, we don't know what the GT500 has. How do you know what the GT500 has? No one knows. It hasn't come out yet.
No.
Because what if it goes on the rolls and it makes 700 wheel?
What if you swap a pulley on it and change the tune and it makes 800 wheel?
Exactly. You don't know what the 18 GT500 makes. That's just what they're telling you it makes. Just like the Ford GT, the Mustang GT 18 makes a little more than advertised. So stop.
It's like,
Stop listening to what. Oh, it's 700, so my GT makes more. Shush. Stop it. Just
Yeah.
wait till the GT500 comes out. You see data, then make then make your decision based on that, or assumption, whatever.
Mitch says, I am in Germany and have no support here as far as tuning or work. What would you recommend to make more power that can handle a lot of abuse? I have a 2017 GT.
we actually have like 3 or 4 dealers in Germany that you could hit up. Send us an email to sales@VMPPerformance.com, and we have Osh Motorsports. And I can't think of the 3 other guys, but we have around 4 dealers in Germany, so we can figure out which one you're geographically most closest to if you want to bring the car to them, or we can just give you all 4 dealers and you can give them a call and see who you fit best with.
But there is support. There is support in Germany, Dubai,
France,
Yemen,
Spain.
France. It's worldwide, the support, and it's growing. So you do have support in Germany. Send us an email, sales@VMPPerformance.com.
Yep.
And we'll get you a list of dealers, and you can choose which one you want to deal with.
Adrian says, I have a 07 GT500 with a great VMP tune, Gen 1 TVS with 2.6 upper and 15% lower,
All of it.
All of it.
ID 1000 and BAP 93 octane. If I put a 2.4 upper, does it need a new tune?
I'd want to look at logs.
Yeah, if 2.4 upper and a
That's
15%
all
on
the
93,
boost.
definitely get a tune update and definitely have us look at logs. We want to see wideband on something like that.
Yeah, get a wide band. No,
and
oof.
since we're doing it remote, you need a good set of ears, or pick up some knock ears or something, because it's a lot of boost. We can put it where things are conservative and know that you're probably going to be okay, but that's a lot of boost for 93 octane.
On a stock bottom end.
Yeah.
Hayden says, do you suggest meth injection on a daily driver? Will meth make up for bad pump fuel?
NA or boosted?
Yeah.
We already covered boosted last week. How we don't think it's
As useful as some people think it is on a PD blower.
right, but NA. If you want to, just use it as an octane booster, why not?
Yeah.
Not a problem. Sure.
William says, I have an 04 Mach 1 what performance gains would be expected with E85? I have Mach long tubes off, SLP and JLT cold air intake. Thanks.
That's all you, buddy.
If you already have a tune for 93 octane, and whoever's tuning the car sees that you have some good fuel in there and doesn't hear any audible detonation or anything like that, going to E85, you probably only gain 10, maybe 12 horsepower, unless you have a really radical setup that's like cammed, high compression and stuff
Right.
like that. The main benefit to E85 in that standpoint is more so just detonation resistance. You're gonna be able to throw all the spark you want in it, but you're already gonna be pretty close to MBT on that setup on 93, depending on what your tuner is doing for it, and depending on how good your fuel quality is.
You'll gain
kinda
some
like-
torque. I guess you can shove the timing in a little earlier.
Yeah, you'll gain more down low than you will a peak horsepower number. So like your lower RPMs, let's say like 2,500, you could be gaining like 25, 35 pound-feet of torque, but by the time you get to where peak torque is at like 3,700, 4,200, you're only gaining about 5 or 10 pound-feet and then about 5 or 10 horsepower at peak.
Right. Boosted, it's totally different. Boosted,
Yeah.
you gain a lot with the 85. NA, it's just a little more torque, virtually no detonation. You can throw a decent amount of spark at it, but don't look for peak horsepower numbers out of the 85 naturally aspirated.
Unless you're high compression, fully built
Cammed,
setup.
The whole 9 yards.
If you're really looking to go all the way, E85 is a great option. But if you're still a stock compression, basic bolt-on car, not too much gain power-wise, just more consistent in terms of detonation resistance.
Carlos says, what is the max boost in stock motor Mustang in a GT 2016 with VMP supercharger and cams to run safe?
The word safe is, look, stay under 10 pounds if you want to be safe.
Yeah, that and depends on the octane too. If you're on 93 octane, even with cams, I really wouldn't go over 12 pounds.
Right.
If you're running E85, turn it up as high as you're comfortable. I've seen guys 15, 16 pounds stock engine. It just really depends on how much you're wanting to party.
People think safe, and then they go, well, I want safe 850 rear-wheel horsepower.
And a lot of people think, to them, safe means that it will never blow up, ever. There's not a chance in the world that it's ever going
I've
to
seen
blow
them
up.
blowing up stock tunes, stock.
Yep.
So there is no such thing as safe. If you want to be on the conservative side with good fuel, stay under 12 pounds. If you are on E85, you can go a little more, but we're never going to tell you a boost number for this car. It'll be safe, because then you're going to turn it up to that, and if something happens, it's on us. So we're not doing that.
Not about that life.
Not about that life.
Bobby wants to know, what are the differences between the Gen 2 and Gen 3?
Rotor pack, housing, inlet size,
everything.
throttle body.
Yeah.
There's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
Nose drive is different.
Mainly the rotor pack, the nose drive, the inlet.
Everything.
Everything. It's a
Maybe
different blower.
maybe the bolts that hold the nose on are the same.
And maybe
I don't know if they're
pattern's
M6
the
versus
same.
M8. Yeah, the footprint's the same.
Footprint's the same, and the bolts that hold the nose drive in might be the same, but everything else is totally different.
Yep.
EM2K20 says, what part of the intake will collapse on a 69 millimeter pulley Roush setup? And will opening the closed airbox prevent what collapses?
Go ahead.
What belt size for a 69 millimeter, and is larger idler a necessity or recommended?
Yes.
Larger idler is a necessity if you're not changing the belt size. A KO 806 might work. You may be better off with like a half-inch shorter belt and a 100 millimeter idler on that setup for a 69 millimeter pulley. The portion of the cold air intake that will collapse if you don't open the cold air box is there's a little indentation in the silicone tube right before the metal MAF insert. Not the metal MAF insert, the metal tube insert that keeps this whole silicone tube from collapsing. It'll suck in right behind the mass airflow sensor, and that was something that Nick James at PMOS actually figured out when he was doing the flow testing on the Roush cold air intake.
All that data.
Yep, all that data and all that
flow bench.
All that flow bench, moving all the air.
Exactly.
Shout out Carlos said, thanks for your response. And Bobby says, you guys are the best.
No problem, guys.
So, shout out to you guys. And we are going to move over to Facebook for now. Those were only questions that I've been taken from YouTube.
Okay.
Don't forget to share and like this the post to help get either your friends' questions answered, or any other questions that you have in the future. Because the more people we have actively engaged in this, the longer we're willing to stay on, and the more we're willing to keep doing this.
If you guys aren't liking and sharing and no one's watching, there's no reason to be here. So
yeah,
if you
we
want
can
your
go
questions answered directly in real time, like and share.
Instead of talking to people that aren't listening, we can go in there and do emails and make money.
Yeah, exactly. We could be tuning. So we take time out of our tuning queue, which I'm sure our customers understand, because we can answer their questions directly. If you're our customer and you need a question answered, get on this, and then we can talk to you directly, and then we just go right back to the email after we're done.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, hi Joe, happy 1 day late birthday.
Thanks, John.
All right, let's go to Facebook, guys. Larry says, how can I inexpensively make my 2007 F-150 5.4 less of a pig?
Inexpensively, that's the
Coyote
word.
swap.
It triggers.
Would probably be the most inexpensive option to make that less of a pig.
Triggers. What year is it again?
2007. 543 valve.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Or the cheapest option would probably be sell it, take all that money and put it towards a diesel truck, because a diesel truck is definitely not a pig.
He wants
like
to,
a 6.7.
Look, the 5.4 Triton isn't. It's not known for power. Neither is the 4.6.
It makes great torque. It's just a heavy truck.
Inexpensively, look, I've seen Roush supercharged 5.43 valves, and they are god awful. Like, look, we come from a Coyote world where 600 horse is nothing anymore, and then we have to go back to the 5.446s, which look, they're great, but they've had their time. They're done. It's time to put them out to pasture, put them out to stud, and move on to the newer stuff. If you want to make power, I understand some of you can't afford it. Well, this isn't for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, from a reliability standpoint, as long as you don't have cam phaser issues or anything like that,
I think we'll just
it's perfectly reliable. Keep on chugging. So if you just need something to be reliable, maybe try just putting 93 octane in it. I mean, it's got NOx sensors. It'll add in a little timing. That'd probably be the cheapest way to add a little bit of power.
Run good fuel.
Yeah.
And a good filter, and I keep your filters clean and change it and service it regularly. I'm not going to tell you to put a cold air on it. I'm not going to tell you to put a tune on it. Don't get me wrong, we tune them, but inexpensive, good gas.
Yeah, and inexpensive is one of those relative things.
Yeah, well, I know some
Guys,
millionaires that think, a blower kit's inexpensive. Like,
yeah.
God bless you.
Exactly.
So Jose wants to give a shout out to Alex. So hey-o.
Jose, say hi to your brother, Jose B.
Joe says, Joe, talking to you, secretly loves Chevy, and you know you do.
I like an SS. I love the SS. What Chevys do we like? Well, okay, that's a good segue. What Chevys do we like?
I like everything about the C6 Z06 except the interior.
Yes. I like the C7Z. I like the Trans. I like the downshift rev matching. I don't know much about the engine because I don't care.
I've never sat in a C7Z, so I can't.
It's pretty awesome.
Can't say, but
it wraps around you nicely. The interior is vastly improved from a C6 has an interior from like a Chevy Celebrity, just some junk ass. It's not, but it's a fast car.
That and we'll clear the air. I am not a diehard I will only ever drive a Ford fan.
Right. That's just silly.
I love a lot of Ford products, but if I have an E63 AMG, like
What year before these people start thinking that we're paying too much for tunes? What year is it?
07. Okay. And I got it with broken air suspension. So.
Yeah, and I've had Chevy trucks. I've had a Caprice 9C1. Is it a 9C1? Yeah, 9C1 cop car, LT1 engine with the crappy Optus Park. I've had a Chevy 1500, 2500, 3500.
Yep.
I'm not a Chevy hater, but when it comes to performance stuff, I prefer the Ford stuff. Okay.
And I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, and a Vitara, Suzuki Vitara.
Like 96 Suzuki Grand Vitara?
Grand Vitara.
Grand Vitara.
Oh, man.
Oh, put the cover back on.
But look, we're not Chevy haters. We do like some of their products. I would love a Chevy SS. I'd love a Chevy SS with that, with that dumb BTR cam and just sit there and idle like an idiot.
A clean Pontiac G8.
Absolutely, they're great. They're nice. I'm older, so I like a bigger, comfortable,
bigger four-door that's comfortable.
Four-door that's comfortable, that chops a little bit, and it's a happy car. We're not Chevy haters. We know
we have fun. We have fun with the. We'll call it the camaraderie.
It's a good time.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. You got a problem with that?
I think I'm a funny guy here.
Oh, Lord. Michael says, who's the best tuner you can recommend for a turbo 3-valve?
Ooh, I don't want to touch it.
There's a lot of really good tuners. Doesn't Ryan McDonald like turbo 3-valves? Not Ryan McDonald.
Oh,
JPC
Ryan. Guy. No, not Ryan. Bacon Tuna is his handle on Instagram. I forget, Kevin McDonald, K-Mac.
Kevin McDonald, there we go.
Yeah, he's really good with 3-valve, Lightnings, 2-valves, 4-valves. He's good with everything, really. He's very good with that stuff, the turbo 3-valve stuff. We've done them, not a problem. I
know Kurgan's done a lot of 3-valves. I don't know. There's a lot of good guys out there. Right. Just see who's geographically closest to you. Call them. See if you guys see if it seems like you guys will mesh. Because a lot of you have to get along with your tuner and be able to communicate good with your tuner. You can have the best tuner in the planet, but if you can't talk to them and describe an issue that you're having, if you have one, or if you can't
convey the goals and get together on a common
exactly,
setup.
You're never gonna reach your goals, regardless of how good the tuner is, if you don't mesh well with the tuner. So try and find someone that you don't even have to you're not dating the guy, but
but you could.
You could if you wanted
to.
Nowadays. Yeah, it's okay.
Right. And also, my advice is don't come in with an adversarial attitude, right? We are here to provide a service. And if you come in like, well, I paid you for that, you owe me that. Look, we're here to help you, but we're less likely to help you if you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
So we really want to make sure that what your goal is and what we can provide is something we can mutually kind of benefit from. and we can serve you. And other tuners are the same way. You know, just respect what they do. Come in with a good attitude. You're not gonna go to a restaurant yelling at everyone. You know, saying, "Give me my damn steak," and just pounding the table and expect them not to spit on it. Yeah. Just saying.
Looks like local to Oklahoma.
Local to Oklahoma?
No idea.
I can't think of anyone out there.
No.
At least not turbo 3-valve stuff.
Sorry.
Built motor, 70 millimeter, 80-pound injectors.
Get out of it.
Don't worry about it.
I wouldn't wish 80-pound injectors on my worst enemy.
See you later. No, once you said 80s, we were done. We were done. Get 52s or ID1000s or 1050X.
Whatever your tuner's comfortable with.
Whatever your tuner's comfortable with.
Find someone, then buy all your parts.
Exactly. We're not going to
ask them how they want it built.
Not touching 80s. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Next.
Ford.
Moving on.
I don't think Ford would be offended.
Let's see. David says, last week, Alex commented that he likes to jump from 56-pound injectors right to 95-pound and up. I don't understand. Why not use DW 78-pound if that's all the fuel you need and save a few $100s? Is there a reason not to use these mid-level injectors?
Then just use 56s.
Yeah.
Why do you need 72s? You're not going to run out of fuel pump gas on 56s, period. Unless
I'd say 750 plus.
Yeah,
then you might have problems with it, but
you don't have to. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to do. You just. We do this for a living. We see the data. If you want to buy a mid-level injector, fine, but you just wasted money because if you already had a 56, I made 705 wheel on 56s and C16 gas. Okay, I'm already reaching the internal limits of the motor. Then when I went E85, I wasn't going to get a 70 anything. I'm going to go right to 1,000, so I have the headroom. Yeah. I'm not going to play around. I'm not going to play around with mid-range anything because what's going to happen is, are you going to stay at that power level? Are you going to stay on pump gas? No, you're going to go E85 eventually. Now you got to buy injectors again. That's on you, buddy. Does that answer your question?
That and saving a couple $100. If you're in the modding your car game to save a couple $100.
You're in the wrong game?
Like I understand sometimes it fits the budget better if you can spend $600 on a set of injectors and put that $400 more towards a catback. Maybe you should just buy the injectors this round and get the catback next round.
Okay, next tax
just save up a little bit more money because if we're talking like ID1000s, DW95s, or FIC 1000s and stuff, I don't like like you don't, I don't like the 52-pound injector and then the 72 and then, oh, well, I don't quite need a 95, so I'm going to get a 72. Just get the 95.
Get the 95.
Gives you some room to grow. If for whatever reason you part out your build, the 95s are going to be easier to sell. Just, I don't know.
I know. We hear this all the time, and we try to explain to people while they're blue in the face, and they go, well, I don't understand. Honestly, you don't have to understand. You just either have to take our opinion or not.
Yeah.
Marty says, an 08 GT500, what are your thoughts on a 6R80 swap?
Do it up.
Do it up. Schrader Performance, Power by the Hour, all those guys are 6R80 swapping everything. And I would love, love, love to see an 07 to 09 GT500 with a 6R80 swap. There is one out there that was at Mod Nationals. It was running.
Was it a white one?
White one with blue stripes. It was running really well, and that thing makes so much
I want to say it had the US shift controller or something like that.
I think so, and it ended up working out. So I think it's a good swap if you can swing it, if you're patient, because you're going to need to be patient for tuning and all that stuff, but it's a great swap in my opinion. Especially for GT500 owners, because most of them can't really drive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, no offense, guys. All the hate.
Carlos, who's reporting in from Puerto Rico, said that VMP made good work. Alex and Rami.
Rami. Yeah.
Rami, and he also said running 9s in his Mustang, so he's pretty excited right now.
What's his name?
Awesome.
His name is Carlos Cortez.
Yes, Carlos Cortez. He has a red S550 with 355s, VMP Stage 3. Rami built it, put headers on it. Car's a badass little ride. Him and Rami are the only two, I think, S550s in Puerto Rico running 9s with our stuff. So, how you doing, Carlos?
Yeah, he's pretty excited.
He's a good guy.
And then Brandon says for Joe, love that smile, buddy.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Resting B-face nation, dog.
Yeah, resting B-face.
I smile when I'm laughing. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then Brandon also said, for Alex, thanks for helping get my car running at its best. All the back and forth emails paid off.
Stevens?
Yeah, Brandon S. So
Yep.
I will make that assumption.
Yeah, we had I think we were chasing, if I'm not mistaken, knock issues. So he had a naturally aspirated car, I believe, don't quote me, and it kept knocking and knocking and knocking. Like the knock sensor would kill 4 all the time.
Oh man.
And I'm like, it shouldn't kill 4 when we're commanding 21, you know,
Yeah.
or 22. So we did a lot of back and forth. I think we ended up figuring it out together. He didn't go on social media, start blasting anyone. He didn't do any of the silly things, and we got it running to a point where he's happy, I'm happy, and the car's running well. That's how it should be. You keep the communication between you and I, we can do great things. If you start chirping and going crazy, it's just going to delay the process. That's all.
Jason says, have you guys tuned any 2017 F-150 3.5 Echo?
Oh.
No, we haven't.
Personally, no. We use
MPT
for our EcoBoost program. They did one of our coworkers 2.7. Runs well. Runs really good.
I know he's done 3.5s and stuff as well.
Yeah, so we use MPT for our EcoBoost truck stuff currently.
Yep.
Justin says, we put together a Vortec car with a 3.33 upper pulley and 15% overdrive pulley.
Damn.
It's running a stock intake manifold and throttle body right now.
Okay.
We intend to use a GT350 intake manifold. Should we use the larger GT350 throttle body, or will that decrease air velocity?
I wouldn't worry about it decreasing air velocity unless you use a funky coupler setup to where you're going from like a 2.5 inch to the 87 millimeter for the throttle body on the coupler.
Right. You can use it, get with your tuner, whoever's tuning it. I'm sure they can use a 350. I personally haven't seen massive gains to warrant the additional cost and the additional tuning headaches and drivability potential issues that you can have with a bigger throttle body. I've seen guys make 1100 on a stock throttle body. So adapt it, stock throttle body, everyone's happy.
That, and on a boosted setup where you're blowing through the throttle body, try not to worry too much about velocity due to a throttle body.
Right, you're blowing through it.
You're pressurizing it, so your velocity's kind of doesn't matter at that point almost.
Right.
Andrew says 03 Cobra, basically stock, 460 rear wheel torque. Would this be a realistic goal to try and hit low to mid 11s with a bias ply tire? With a power goal of 650 to 700 rear wheel horse, what is the best injector to go with?
Is he using the stock blower?
It depends on what fuel. 650, 700 rear wheel horse, you're going to want to be in a ID 1050 if you're on E85, 650, 700 rear wheel horse on 93. You should be able to do on a 56-pound injector, like out of a 2013-14 GT500. Just keep in mind that's a EV14 injector instead of EV6, so you'll have to use height adapters to run it in the Cobra.
So Mitchell Page says, I need to get you a hat, Joe.
Oh man, is my head too shiny today?
Sorry.
Tilts head down, image of something on top of head. It's like, what is that?
He says he'll be going with the VMP blower in stock now.
Yeah, so either 56s or 60s. 56s would be from a GT500. 60s would be the Ford Racing or Siemens Deca 60s. And if you're just on a 93 or gasoline-based fuel, that's all you'll need. If you go to E85, you'll need a return fuel system.
72s.
No, definitely not 80s either. Just go to an ID 1050X or an ID 1300 if you really want some headroom to party in the future. But yeah, Ford return fuel system as well. If you're going to E85, twin 465s, decent power line upgrade with a relay setup, and stock rails will be fine on that. Yeah, have fun.
Jack says you do custom remote tune / adjustment based on logs also, correct?
As long as we're the ones custom tuning it. We don't really have a way to modify anyone else's custom tune based on data logs.
And we don't want to.
And we have no desire to, because if things aren't set up properly in that tune and we're making tune adjustments for you based off that tune without fully vetting that file, it's just bad. Just start with your own stuff, know that everything's right, and modify it based on the data you receive back from a car that's known to be in good condition with no vacuum leaks and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Andrew says, thanks for all the help, guys.
No problem, man.
No problemo.
Jose says, road race tune question. My class requires a 70 millimeter restrictor plate. Will a special tune be needed to squeeze out the best performance? It's an 012 Mustang GT.
012.
So that'd be a similar class to what? Is it Pezzo? Pezzo's running or?
No, Perdomo.
Perdomo.
Pezzo,
Did he have to run a 70 millimeter restrictor
yes.
in his throttle body?
It has to meet a certain power to weight ratio. So he has a Coyote Swap Fox, and he put a small restrictor so that it would make like 360 horse based on his weight. And they didn't change the tune. They just put the restrictor on, it's all less air. If it's configured properly, you should be good.
Yeah, I mean, you have the potential to make more power with a tune than you would without a tune in the 70 millimeter restrictor, but at the same time, I'd work on driving the car more before adding more power, because especially when you're road racing and autocrossing, you can gain a lot more in driver skill than you can in horsepower.
Absolutely.
Like you can put two different guys in the same car and get 2-3 seconds difference pretty easily.
We got lapped by a rental car 2 years ago at Sebring.
Oh man.
Lapped by a rental car. Why? Because the rental car was being driven by an instructor. And we were in a GT350. And we're like, okay. So there's a lot to be said about driving skill. Don't worry so much about power. Improve your driving skill. I know you think in your head, I'm a great driver. It's all good. Whatever. You can always get better.
Yeah. I'd spend your money on that first.
So
maybe some courses with, like, I don't know if Track Guys are doing events.
Track Guys are doing events. If you go to Track Guys, trackguys.com, or just Google it, they have events all over Florida, all over the country. Street Racing Made Safe has a lot of autocross events, you know, like on golf cart tracks or go-kart tracks, not golf cart tracks, go-kart tracks next to the drag race portion that you can just practice on. They don't do teaching, but I prefer the Track Guys stuff. That seems to be kind of the way
on track. You can get an instructor in the car.
Yeah, they pull you. You do 3 rounds. After each round, they tell you what you messed up on, what you should improve on. You know, and you learn a lot quicker that way. And you don't need to be in a high horsepower car. I was in a Coyote Swap Fox, 360 horse. Everything else was a 500 plus horse M5s, Hellcats, Charger, Challengers, and I was doing okay with these guys, and I was passing them because I wasn't about chasing power and sliding into corners. I listened to Perdomo from Power by the Hour, told me what to do, how the car reacts, and it was a real fun time at 360 horse. Thrilled.
Zach says, 17 GT with Roush 2.3 MT82 car. With ET Streets, I was running 11.5 at 119. But after about 5 passes, it would fall on its face and would not make any power till 5K in third. Then the power would come back around half-track car, started running 12.8, 13.7. Any idea what would cause that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Joe, you want to give it a crack?
Clutch protection could be one thing. Weird that it came back on in the middle of the track, though. Like the car came back alive.
Well, I think...
Or if you're 5 track passes in, you can also have an issue with your downstream air temps pulling timing, but that's also weird that it would... I guess it's not too weird that it would get better half track, because when you graph IAT in a dyno pole or after a couple successive dyno poles, spikes initially usually 5 degrees, then feathers down 15, 20, comes back up. So maybe it's weird that he was able to perceive that, though.
The thing is, these Roush cars, they have to warranty a lot of parts. Axles, drive shaft. They even have ways of sensing the front of the drive shaft versus the rear of the drive shaft in the calibration when they're being vetted. If you disconnect, like I don't recommend this because you can literally plant the car in the wall. If you disconnect the little ABS module by the cold air, okay, it's just a little plug that goes nowhere really. It's just kind of like a, you know, I forget what they're called, but just disconnect it.
A loop.
A loop, yeah, everything is off. Advanced track, traction control, ABS, it is all off at that point. So the only thing that could be slowing you down is if you're power shifting and some torque reduction is coming into play, traction control is coming into play, something protecting something. But if you disconnect that guy, all that is off. You can do donuts and do stupid stuff. You can hurt stuff, or you can also lose traction and go into the wall. So if you disconnect that, go back to the track, disconnect that part in the cold air. You'll see it's like a little plug. Just unplug it. All the lights will turn on your dash. And I guarantee that'll be less prevalent. If it is still connected and you're just doing advanced track off, torque reduction's into play, clutch protection comes into play, all that stuff comes into play. And if you're hot lapping the car, it's not a good look. These cars need a little bit of cool down time. If you're just hot lapping the deal, it's just the clutch is going to get hot, everything's going to get hot.
That and the stock Roush supercharger kit doesn't have a fan heat exchanger. So if you go, you make a full quarter-mile pass, go to the booth, get your ticket for your run, and then go back to the staging lane, shut the car off. The car never really had any time to cool down.
Right.
So the 5-10 minutes that the car is off while you're waiting to run,
getting hotter.
It's getting hotter. So every time that you've gone around and made a run,
It's hotter.
it's progressively gotten a little hotter and a little hotter and a little hotter. So step one, fan heat exchanger. If you're going to continue to hot lap the car,
Right.
against recommendation. And step two, disconnect
The ABS.
ABS.
module.
Step three, data log.
Data log. Yeah, and then we can tell you exactly what's happening.
Step four, profit.
Profit. Yeah. Even if you are on a stock roush tune, you could data log it. We can tell you what's happening. Did your phone just fall off?
I think so. I just pushed my phone off.
But yeah, that's the answer. Just disconnect that guy, data log if you have any other concerns, but I bet you it won't come back after you disconnect that little thing.
Yep.
Okay. Dasan or Dasan?
Dasan.
I'm not quite sure.
Dasan.
Yeah.
Let's call him Dasan.
Dasan
Let's
or
go with
Dasan?
Dasan. I like Dasan.
All right. Of course, he's poking fun, but he says he has to ask, when is the development on the 2019 GT500 TVS start?
Well, Dasan.
When we get one.
Dasan.
It's better than Datsun.
I think he worked for Lund Racing. He's being funny because people are asking things like as if we have a magical GT500 sitting outside that they gave us. And, "Hey, how much power do you think it's gonna make over?" Let them get to the streets first, then we'll tell you. We get them at the same time you get them. We don't have any special treatment. So, if it already comes with a 2650, it's already got a great blower. All we have to develop is pulleys, better heat exchanger, uppers, cold airs, and power packages. And once we get our hands on one, you guys will
start
know.
doing all that.
Exactly. Until then, nobody knows.
Jack says, and this is a similar question to before, but he added a couple things in here. So
How many things?
do you custom tune remote tunes adjustments based on logs? Obviously, you answer that. But then he wants to know nitrous tunes for Coyote swap car and 17 GT.
What about them?
Coyote swapped car
Like
and
a-
A17 GT?
And a 17 GT.
Okay, both of them we can do nitrous tunes.
Yeah, we can do nitrous tunes on both.
Just email us to make sure it's something that we want to tune first.
Yeah, you got to get a good nitrous kit that has all the safety margins built in. We've answered this multiple times. So look,
If you got your boy in the passenger seat hitting the button, we have no interest in tuning the
if
nitrous
you got,
side.
you got Cletus on the side and you got just a line going in the throttle body, we're not tuning it. Sorry, we want to see the kit, make sure it has all the safety measures, the right bottle temp, all that stuff, and the good fuel, and we'll party.
Yep.
Danny says for an 11 to 12 GT500, GT500S, do you guys recommend swapping to a shorter 10 rib belt with a 2.3 Gen 2 with 2.4 and Metco auxiliary idler? Even though some have said a stock belt will work, my thought is just because it can work doesn't mean you should keep the stock belt. Stock lower, by the way.
If you're running a Metco auxiliary idler, that kind of negates the need to
Get
put
a
a
smaller
put a
belt.
shorter belt on, because you're changing the amount of effective belt wrap and the distance the belt's traveling around pulleys, which accounts for the difference in belt length.
Right. You're already shortening the belt via an auxiliary idler, so you want a shorter belt
Yeah.
to offset. No. You're already
Yeah.
doing it with the idler.
Yeah.
So no need.
No worries, man. Or no
Clint's-
worries, Mike.
Clint says, which cams would you recommend on an NA Gen 1 Coyote?
All of them. All four.
Definitely all four. You could just do intake cams though.
Yeah, there's many on the market. We like L&M stuff. We run L&M stuff, but we've also run comp stage 1, 2, and 3. We know how to tune them all. We know what the deal is. So it's really depending on what you want to do. I would honestly call comp, tell them what you want to do. Call L&M, tell them what you want to do. And then you decide what's the best application for you, because we can tune all of them. But we highly recommend L&M stuff. Sean and L&M developed an intake cam only that seems to be doing well. And the comp book cams, stage 1, 2, and 3, they do pretty well for what it's worth.
Anthony says, if us GT350 owners aren't going to get a GT500, why not power out our Voodoo like Vortec and make well over 700 on low boost? Will VMP ever make a root style kit for the 5.2?
We already make a root style kit for
It's
5.2.
called the VMP
It's
stage.
called making the VMP stage whatever work
exactly.
on it.
It's it. You can, the kits, the initial kits, especially PD kits that ended up going on GT350s were S550 kits that they made work. And then some manufacturers changed the electronics on the throttle body so that it would be easier to tune. Do I recommend boosting a GT350? No, and this is purely on what the engineer at Ford told us. Have I seen them make great power? Absolutely, 800, high sevens, guys are twin turboing them, but these guys got the money that they can put on it, and if it kills a crank, they don't care. But I have yet to see a failure that I've heard about. I'm sure something has happened that you don't hear about.
That and Ford didn't do it with GT500.
Right, they went crossplane.
Crossplane.
Yeah. But we don't know what the hell we're talking about, man. You know, flat plane. Ferraris have flat plane cranks.
Well, not only that, but like, yeah, it works on a dyno pole, and it might work for a track pass, but from what Ford has told us, it does not hold up to the SAE tests.
Right.
For sustained wide open throttle to make a power number or the durability testing that they've done.
Right.
So, will it break? Probably, maybe. When will it break?
But Ford's testing, they literally put it on a stand and say, run it for this much time and this many RPMs and this many variables, and then they probably said, blower's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, so then they went cross-plane.
Put two cranks through the side of the block. It's probably a bad idea.
Right, but then they introduced the 5.2 cross-plane, and they said, you know what, we can make 700 horse with this. So that kind of gives you your answer right there. If you want to make 700 wheel on a GT350, great. Good luck with the clutch application. Good luck with the transmission, because it is weaker than an MT82, and it's got smaller gears, and it's just not a good time. So it all depends on what you want to do. But yes, you can put boost on it, but don't expect it to last as long as anything with a crossplane. Is that the time? Oh, okay, thank you.
So anyway, what I was going to say is,
Brian was showing us the time, that's all.
So we have probably about 40 questions.
Well, they're only going to get 2 or 3 in.
So, well, that's what I was going to say. So we have about 40 questions that are here. It's 2:29 now.
Right.
So obviously,
we can go back and answer them as much as we can when we log in.
That's what I was going to say, is if we don't get to your question this week, then what will happen is we'll have Joe go in and or Alex, whichever
Both of
one.
us,
we'll go in and we'll personally answer them on the pages. So
just remember to like and share our stuff, and like us on Facebook, share us on
share the
YouTube.
Feed.
You share the feed. Make sure that everyone knows, because obviously we're leaving a bunch of people behind, but it's good that it's growing and it's getting known and people are taking interest. But the more interest there is, the more we can put into the show and get you the questions answered quickly, and we could do it maybe longer. Who knows?
The more time I can invest after the show in answering questions, because answering the questions after the show is no different than me answering emails.
Exactly.
So
you sit there, hammer away at questions, and we should be good to go. So get to some of the questions just so we can rattle some of them off.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to point out is if you ask the question on Facebook, your question will remain in the comments so they can go back and easily follow up. Right. If you ask the question on YouTube, the question does disappear once the broadcast publishes. So if you want your question answered on YouTube, you will have to go back in and re-ask it so that it's in the comments once the broadcast is actually published. So I wanted to make that a point that if you want your question answered on YouTube, you will have to go back in and re-ask it in order for the guys to answer.
They'll live. They're big boys.
They are big boys, but and girls. There's a couple girls in there too, so let's not disclude them.
Alex is single, so you know.
All right, let's move on, so that way we can get you guys out of here. Casey said, "What's the rough horsepower limit of the stock fuel system on pump gas /E85?"
What car? What year?
Didn't say.
Okay. So
next one.
We won't tell you.
Michael says, "Would a hood stack affect my wideband reading?"
Probably.
Go ahead.
We can do these ones real fast.
Yeah, these are easy. Yeah.
Ryan says, "Everyone seems to be on the hype train for the 18 GT manifold swaps on the 11 to 17s, myself included. Curious as to your thoughts."
Yeah.
We don't know. We haven't tested one yet.
Steve says, "For level 4 fuel system, any real benefits to running it as recommended? Y block to rear of rails, front of rails to regulator, after the rails, and not before?"
A true return. Yeah, true. He could
Also-
have just said a true return.
Also, best place to tuck in the regulator, 2016 GT, no on the firewall. Strut tower looks like a super tight fit.
Passenger, or not passenger side, driver side, inner fender well. There's it goes all, like the cutout for the air intake goes down almost all the way down to the frame rail. You can mount a regulator down there if
And
you
it's
want
easy to get to. It's not that bad. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a benefit to running a true return style system, but there's also a bad part about it. Like you can get the pumps hotter because it's constantly circulating through
fuel
the engine.
through the rails
Right.
that are like 190, 180 degrees, heating
Right.
up the fuel.
So if you're
and pushing
returning
it back
at the
to tank.
rails, you're returning it at on top of a hot engine. If you're returning it at the regulator, it's less likely to get the fuel hot. Most guys that do true returns are race cars
Yeah.
that don't street drive. I street drive, I return it at the regulator. I
Yeah.
deadhead it, return it at the regulator.
Dakota says, have you guys seen any data from customer cars with the L&M intake cams? How much horsepower torque was gained on that what setup?
We haven't seen any data from the L&M intake cams,
No, sir,
but
not
just
data
the stuff that Sean published.
It seems to be pretty impressive, but
Yeah.
personally, we have not seen any.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, I have an 03 Cobra setup. I'm building with Mac long tubes, mid pipe, and exhaust. Lethal performance return system, 1050X injectors, Gen 2 with GT 500 throttle body. I have a 2.6 upper and stock lower now. What is the limit for this blower before you start to either overspin it or it no longer becomes efficient?
You're not at that limit. You could run a 2.8 and a 4-pound lower as like a crazy max effort setup, but that's usually where you start finding the limit of the short block and what the cams are able to move with the pressures you're working at, because up around that level it should be 23 pounds pretty easily with a 4-pound and a 2.8. But for all of our fast guys right now are running 4-pound 3.0s. There's a couple guys that are a tiny bit faster running 4-pound 2.8 setups. But going more aggressive than that, you start running into belt slip issues, and it's an 8-rib setup that's 14 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only do so much with it, especially when you're on stock cams. So just keep that stuff in mind. But the 2.6 and the stock lower isn't pushing it too far, but you might find the limits of what the 8 rib's able to hold.
Kevin says, what's your take on the Edelbrock E4 supercharger?
It works just fine.
Good little blower. Decent. Can't upgrade the throttle body. Can't pulley down.
Yeah.
And you can't put an aftermarket cold air in it. I mean, you can if you crowbar it in there and do something, but it's a decent little car. Decent little blower.
The
TVS.
Based on all the testing I've done, at least with the 2300 E4 supercharger, the throttle body is a pretty big restriction on that setup, along with the cold air. You could
Although
swap.
it goes down at the higher RPM.
Yeah, and I measured the outside of the pulley. I never pulled the belt off, and it was like the equivalent of a 79 millimeter pulley, but load was all the way down to like
1.4, 1.3.
no, way lower. It was like 1.2 or 1.1
What was
at
the
like
peak,
7,600. Peak was like 1.65 or 1.7 down low.
Okay.
Which is right in line with what a 79 would make before a throttle body restriction, but
But our
then you can
load-
see it peeling away as you go up
Our
top.
load stays high.
Hey-oh.
Hey,
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yariel says, on a 3-pump fuel system, what's better, to stage the fuel pumps or have them working together?
I'm not a big fan of hop switches. Personally, if you have a high horsepower car, like I call high 700 and up, I run 2 pumps all the time, but I return at the regulator. I don't return through the whole system to return. I'm not a big fan of hop switches because depending on where you have them mounted, they can
have
go on and
problems
off,
with them.
on and off. Right. I like running 2, and if you have making 1,000, you can run 2, then a hop switch on the 3rd, but don't put the hop switch somewhere hard mounted, kind of laid over the coil covers or something, just so it doesn't rattle on and off. But you know, on big boy stuff, I would just run the pumps full time if it's like a race car only. You know, it's gonna return, it'll be fine. But I run 2 all the time, and if you have more, 2 and a 3rd on a hop switch if you want.
I have, you know, Grant. I have a customer with a 1100 horsepower GT500 that the pumps are staged 1 pump on all the time.
Right.
2 pumps come on at like,
The voltage.
no, based on fuel flow.
Fuel
I
flow.
think I have them coming on at like 4 pounds a minute.
Okay.
4, no, not 4. Around like 3.5 pounds a minute of fuel flow.
Oh, she's typing like crazy with it. Listen to her. I'm answering everything.
She's hacking into NASA.
Anthony was asking about your black car, and I said you sold it.
Yep, she gone.
He was asking about the red 15. Wanted to know if we had any plans on selling it, and so I was letting him know that you
15?
bought it.
No, I bought it. Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, it's yours.
Mine.
And it's gone.
And it's gone.
So then he was like, what about his black car? So Gary wants to know, is there any data comparing the 18 GT intake manifold to the GT 350's manifold?
Not yet.
Nope, not yet.
Chris says, should I go from 355 to 373 gears on an 11 GT 500?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As long as it's still on the stock blower and you don't plan on trapping over 148 at the track, depending on how high you're spinning it. If you're spending $7,000, like 148. If you're spending 6,500, around 144.
If you really want to party, put some 410s in it. Who cares?
Yeah.
David says, would I see much of a gain with the custom tune on my 17 GT Roush Phase 1 6R80?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We just had a guy run 1060s with a little fuel additive with stock 47, stock cold air, stock everything. Car weighs 4111, race trim, and it went 1060 131. So it's you'll see plenty of gains. Trust me, not just on the power, but transmission, torque reduction, all that stuff. It's a good all-around tune.
Justin wants to know, will you guys be doing any tech install videos like Bill's from CJ's?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, we're gonna potentially put stuff out there if you guys demand it. But I currently don't know of anything. But that would be a good idea for us to kind of get into that. That'd be pretty awesome.
It probably wouldn't be us doing the installs.
Right.
Probably be our techs out there doing the installs in those videos.
Techs do tech things.
Yep. We do tuner things.
Yes.
2 O's.
Yes. I listen to trap music all day.
Wayne says, if you owned a car that makes over 1,200 to the tire and have sat for a year with E85 in the fuel systems, what precautions would you take?
I shouldn't own that car if I let it sit for a year with the 85, because no. Why are you letting a car sit for a year that has 1,200 horse? I'd be driving.
But hypothetically, if you're in the military or you're out of town for extended periods,
1,200 horse. How much they pay the military guys? God dang.
If you're general, maybe.
Oh, that's true.
But hypothetically, if you ever got yourself into that situation, I would pull the fuel system apart, replace the fuel filter, check the fuel socks for any type of deterioration, and I'd send the injectors to whoever manufactured them and ask them to clean them and just pay them whatever they charge to clean them.
I think Brian's over there like seeing all the comments come and just laughing. I'm sure there's
like a 12-second delay.
Got it. Anything else, Carrie?
It'll be for you guys.
Kevin says, what's your guys' take on the Edelbrock superchargers for the Coyote?
We got that one. We
got
good.
that one.
He must have asked it twice. Roger says, thoughts on the Deutschwerks 1000cc injectors for an E85 setup?
I have
They
them
work
on
fine.
I have them on my car. They work great.
Yep.
Dakota says, I know it was touched on last week, but I just bought a Stage 1 Ben Calamer MT92 and a Mantic twin disc. What's the proper break-in for them both?
Don't really worry about the break-in on the
Transmission.
Obviously, I wouldn't power shift it in the first 10 miles.
I would just drive in stop and go traffic as much as you can for about 500 miles.
And make sure that when you're driving in that stop and go traffic, when you're coming up to a light or coming up to a stop sign or slowing down, go into neutral, let the clutch out. Don't put it in first until the person in front of you starts moving. That'll help keep you from glazing the clutch when you're sitting at a stop if you have it in gear and the clutch pedal down. If your clutch master or clutch slave isn't bled properly.
Next question.
And Dan?
Rick just said, Joe, last week you said, Rick, you should be good as we tuned you with enough fuel. You were right. 9.85 at 138, VMP stage 3. Thanks, guys.
No problem, man.
Good job, brother.
So he's pretty excited. Jay says, hey, Joe, what's your opinion on running a watt box? Would only be used for no lift shift features, an 07 GT500.
Yeah, tell me. Oh, GT500.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yep, yep.
It's all good. Cams don't move. Go ahead.
Chris says, On a 4R70W swapped car at 16 pounds, what stall would you recommend, leaning towards more track-oriented?
You're gonna be tricky. I don't know what setup you have at 16 pounds, but if you're running a 4R70 and it's not built and you're making, we'll call it 800-900 horsepower, because most 5 liters at 800-900 horsepower, or most 5 liters at 15-16 pounds are up around that level.
Right.
You got to be weary of hurting the 4R70, especially with a lockup converter. Stall really caters to the setup. If you have a Pro Charger, I'd recommend a different stall than I would for a PD blower. Probably be a question better suited for email or for the torque converter manufacturer.
Bradley says, just installed a nitrous kit on my 12 Coyote Mustang. Plan on spraying a 75 shot. I already have a VMP 93 race tune.
Race.
Can I just pull a little timing on that tune with my SCT tuner, or do I need a custom nitrous tune?
Custom nitrous tune.
You can do whatever you want, but when you blow it up, don't send me an email.
Exactly. You should be smart and send in for a revision for nitrous, and we will gladly send you a base file to test without nitrous to make sure spark and fuel is where we want it. And then we say, when we're happy, we'll say, give it a wet shot, and we'll see what it does, and then get back with you. I don't rely on the SCT tuner to do anything, honestly. I'd rather you just let us worry about the
Let us worry about what's in the tune.
Still not live on Facebook.
It's all good. We're still on YouTube.
Okay.
Woo.
You're still on YouTube.
The party continues.
What are you guys' thoughts on? Well, no, let's not go there. Mitchell. Mitchell says, how much horsepower will ID 1300 support on E98?
Less than they would if they were on E85.
And less than E70, E50. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know why you're running E98.
Why are you running E98?
It's Mitchell Page.
Mitchell, stop it. Stop it.
Just use E85,
just
Mitchell.
E85. Stop making our life complicated. I love you, but stop making it complicated. More ethanol doesn't mean more power. It just means more of a strain on the fuel system.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
Lando says, in your guys' opinion, which plug do tuners preferably use on 1,000 plus wheel?
There's not really, I mean, there's not a single plug.
No, some people use 12 YSs non-projected. Some people use...
What would you use on a small block Ford at 1,000 horsepower on nitrous?
There's like a zillion.
What would you use on a small block Ford at 1,000 horsepower on blower?
It's Whopper or Big Mac. So.
Well, not...
But look,
Whopper or Big Mac to the tuner. To the end user, it doesn't really matter, but get with your tuner, whoever's tuning your car, ask them what plug they want in the car.
Whatever he wants you to run, you're good to go. If he says, we're tuning it, well, send us an email. We'll talk about your setup, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Wayne says, what preventative measures would you take if you had a 1,200 horsepower car and E80... Oh, wait, he asked it twice. Sorry.
It's all good.
Anthony says, GT350 car, what mods would you do? And are you guys going to make a supercharger kit, or have you done any supercharged applications?
I think we're repeating questions. We got that. I think they're repeating, it looks like, because he asked the same question, and we said we make one.
They probably do.
We make one, but, we don't make it specifically for that car.
Yep.
What mods would I do with a Shelby GT? Drive it.
Yep.
Just drive it. A lot of people overthink mods on those cars that Ford spend millions of dollars vetting, and it's way more car than you won't ever reach the potential of that car unless you're a pro driver, honestly.
Adam says, how to data log without a SCT? What's the least expensive option?
Get a friend with an SCT.
That's the least expensive option.
And then have him send us the data log. That's the least expensive option. Just a beer. It costs you a beer, right?
Yeah.
Yingling.
Depending on how good your friends are. They might even give you chocolate milk.
Beer. What's good beer? I don't think about beer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Chocolate milk.
Cody says, if I unplug the ABS plug, do I need to buy a driver mod?
Yes.
Probably.
There's certain websites that sell it for $3,000, a little more if you're a certain Mustang owner, but you definitely can buy a driver mod.
Kevin says, Holley has now released their control pack and harness kit, supposedly not available to tune as of yet. What are your thoughts?
Holly?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the post about it yet.
Oh, sorry.
We got distracted with GT500, Mach 1, and Bullet.
Yes.
Michael says, is it safe to upgrade the intake PMAS and exhaust, long tube headers with off-road H-pipe on a 12 GT without a tune for a day or two until I get it done?
No. If it's a tune required PMAS, no. If it's a no tune required PMAS, you should be okay.
Yeah, everything else in that setup shouldn't affect whether or not your car's safe to drive.
The no tune required comes with a sensor. The tune required uses your stock sensor.
Mitch says, what setup would you recommend for me to look into for road rallies here in Germany? I need something that can run hard on the freeways.
Hard on the freeways, road rallies.
An aggressive, naturally aspirated setup. If you're running more than 30 minutes at a time at watt, will probably be your best setup, at least for consistency's sake.
NA.
If you're doing stuff on Nordschleife or like the Nürburgring, hit up Osh Motorsports. He spends a lot of time out at the ring. He should be able to put you in the right direction.
Slab Shack says, will the new 2650 be too much for a stock block 14 GT 500?
No.
Is a 3.4 Whipple too much for a stock block GT 500?
Is a 4-liter Whipple too much for a stock block GT5? I mean, is a 3.5 Kenny Bell too much for, I mean, you could pulley up and be okay. It all depends on the pulley.
Exactly.
A 2.3
well,
with a round pulley combo can be, you know.
Why would Shelby America put the biggest blower Whipple makes on a GT 500 with a stock bottom end if it's not safe?
Exactly. Because
it's all about
pulleys like this.
Focus on boost more so than blower size.
Exactly. People get caught up on the numbers.
That and I mean,
don't stress it so much. The 2.6 is going to be good. If you pulley down crazy, you can blow it up with a stock blower.
Yeah.
So don't stress it too much.
Yeah.
You're overthinking this. It's not that hard.
Adrian says, thanks guys. I know you don't like to bash local shops, but my car runs way better with your VMP tune than local dyno tune. I'm in Houston. VMP rocks.
Cool. Thank you.
Sweet.
Hayden says, thanks guys, really enjoy these videos, and also a huge fan of Alex's channel. Keep it up, man. Can't wait to see what's coming next.
Want to go fast, half mile, I'll be there. So if you guys want to come hang out, VMP will be there. We'll be there in full force. I'll be running the red car there. So if you want to come hang out at Ocala, we'll be there.
Sarah says, what's your guys' favorite choice on a clutch?
Depends on the vehicle.
And it depends on the application of the clutch. But we like Mantic and McLeod. I've seen Exetis work good in some cases. Older Cobras, I've seen a lot of people hate on specs, but I've seen
He had a spec on his Cobra.
I had a spec Stage 3 Plus in mine. It's got 40,000 miles on it. It was at 600 wheel for like 10, 15,000 miles of that, and now it's at 700 wheel holding up fine. So I wouldn't say we necessarily have a specific preference on a specific clutch for every application.
Right. It all depends. It all depends on your setup.
Shoot us an email if you want our opinion of
your setup,
right. What we'd put in there.
Potato says, Mustang GT on daily driver, thinking of purchasing Stage 1 kit, but I live in Arizona and only have 91 octane available. Okay. Will the Stage 1 kit run off 91, and what kind of power can I expect?
Stage 1 will run off 91. If you're in Arizona, it depends on where you're at in Arizona. I know there's a lot of places in Arizona that are minimum 1,500 feet elevation, maximum like 5,000 feet elevation.
Correct.
So speculating a horsepower number for you would probably be something better done over email, just so we can get more of the specific circumstances of your setup. Yeah. But in terms of safety, 91 octane and 85 or an 82 millimeter pulley is perfectly safe in a Stage 1 kit.
Absolutely.
Just got to keep everything on the lower side of spark things.
Jose says, is it mandatory to use the Ford wide bands in a single turbo conversion with just one cat? Similar built to S550 Vert with cutouts.
It's not mandatory to use both wide bands. You could switch it over to where it's only using one wide band, and if you're running a single turbo, it's probably the better way to do it, because the only way to run dual wide bands accurately would be to do it in each bank pre-turbo, but running wide bands pre-turbo where all the back pressure is a bad idea, because then that's going to skew your results. So you're going to be better off running a single wide band sensor post-turbo in the downpipe. So to answer your question, yeah, be fine to run that setup.
Blaine says, you tuned my car at Performance Evolution with Matt. It made 652. Okay. If I use Torco and 79 millimeter
pulley.
Yeah, with 67 twin throttle body, can I reach 700 plus on pump gas on 56-pound injectors?
If your car is automatic, probably not.
Yeah, on an auto,
I've
no.
seen-
But I saw a guy make 690, and I was wowed by the number. I'm not going to say yes. I'm saying you have a potential of reaching
In that ballpark.
in that ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say yes, but I've seen guys make 680, 690 with long tubes, and on a good day on a glory pull, it can happen. But I
And I've
can't
seen-
I can't tell you yes consistently 700 all the time. No.
Yeah, and I've seen 670 on just
Already got that
93.
one.
Right here.
Yep, right outside.
Melvin says 2012 GT 6R80 headers or Circle D torque converter.
If it's still stock, converter.
Converter first. Yeah. Get it out of the hole. Get that sucker out of the hole.
Okay, and so Carlos says we need an all-wheel drive Mustang. What do you think? Where is it coming?
It's not coming. We're getting an electric one before we're getting an all-wheel drive one.
You could have someone build it for you
Yeah, I mean, you can.
if you need one.
It's cool. People have speculated that the GT500 is going to be all-wheel drive because of the splines, but that's just because parts,
Interchange.
That's all. But it'd be cool, but I don't think it'll happen anytime soon.
And then last but not least, Cody says, how many LS owners went on suicide watch when the GT500 was announced?
I think they were more. The reaction was like, "Damn." I suspect because when I saw the ZL1 1LE come out with the track times and how well it ran and how it just gapped a lot of things in its price range, I went, "Damn," slow clap. I didn't get all mad and start huffing and puffing. So I would think that legit Chevy owners were like, "Man, Ford's stepping up." So I'm sure they'll want Chevy to respond. I don't think they were literally lining up. Just about to jump off a bridge. But I think that I would hope the reaction is like, all right, time to step it up, Chevy. I would hope. I just love joking around and triggering people.
And breeding the like, I don't know. Competition is good
always
for
good.
everybody else involved.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, I hope that they see it as just competition and everyone's stepping up. And I love it. It's good for everyone. So it can't be a bad thing.
And with that, we are
Bid
done.
you adieu.
Remember, guys, like and share this content on YouTube. Subscribe, like it on Facebook, and make sure that the content gets out there. We can do it longer and bring you more fun stuff and fun videos. Anything else to add, Carrie?
Have we been able to secure mid-February possibly?
No idea. I don't know what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, let's announce something when we have something before
Yeah.
we go crazy.
Wasn't
but yeah,
sure.
we're looking to potentially add guests to the show. We've been contacted by certain people. If you're a manufacturer and you're interested in getting on the show, get a hold of us. Go out there and say, hey, I'd like to be on a half-hour segment of the tuning. Again, I forget the name of the show.
Tuning Tuesdays.
Tuning Tuesday. I'm so terrible. Tuning Tuesdays with Joe and Alex, and if I'm not here, it'll be Justin. But if you want to get on, talk about your product, why not? Let's have people here specialize in their product, and the people could ask you questions directly, and they'd love to see a face to a name. We have a couple of people lined up that are interested in coming. We'll announce who they are once we finalize everything, and then we'll go from there.
That's it.
All right. Thanks for
Like and
watching,
share,
guys.